in the media to counter which seems to be a tsunami of propaganda against the Iranians specifically and the Muslim world in general. I was curious and intrigued by your comment earlier about the laptop computer, which was the basis of the report that came out in the New York Times this morning. And I wonder if you could elaborate on that, where the laptop came from and why the information on that is suspect in your opinion.
Well, certainly. Look, first of all, we need to be clear. I don't work for the United States intelligence community anymore, and I certainly wasn't part of it at a time when this laptop computer emerged as a piece of evidence. So I'm as much a prisoner of available data as the rest of the Americans, of the listeners out there. But I will say this, when the laptop first showed up, it was presented in one way. They said this is a laptop that's derived from Iranian sources, so the implication was it was a laptop where actual work took place. And I was extraordinarily skeptical of this, because I said if that's the case, then you have all the forensic ability available built into that laptop to prove the information or disprove the information. What it turns out is that's not the case. It's an American laptop. The CIA owns it. And the data that's inserted on the laptop came from, allegedly, Iranian sources who gathered this data over the course of several years and then smuggled it out to the Germans, who then turned it over to the CIA, who then reassembled this data in this laptop computer and presented it to the IAEA. What needs to be pointed out is this laptop does not have a direct line to the Iranians. In fact, there's every reason to believe that none of the information on the laptop actually ever came from Iran, or at least the Iranian government. This laptop has disinformation written all over it. There's reports that say that there's a lot of testing data on this laptop, and it'd be very difficult to fabricate that testing data. Really now. Israel has a nuclear weapons program, and in the process of building these nuclear weapons, Israel carried out any number of tests that derived testing data that could be extracted, manipulated, repackaged, and transferred to the IAEA, calling it Iranian data. The same thing with the United States. We have testing data that dates back to the 1950s that could be repackaged. I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'd say that there's a heck of a lot more chance of this data being fabricated by nations openly hostile to Iran than it is coming from Iran. There's no evidence. Once you remove this data, there's no other supporting evidence out there to reinforce this. It's not as though there's a whole lot of smoke and this is just one more piece of smoke that says there's a fire burning in Iran. If you remove this smoke that comes from this laptop, there's nothing there, which again raises a lot of questions. I don't believe in the magic source. The last time we had a magic source was when Colin Powell went before the Security Council and used a source called Curveball to make a case that Iran was pursuing a biological weapons program. Well, we found out that Curveball was a fabrication, and guess what? The German intelligence community was involved in that debacle as well. Anything coming out of Germany today has to be suspect. The Germans have not been right at all on the issue of Iraq. If you go to the lead up to the Iraq war, they were screaming about evidence they had about the reconstitution of the Iraqi nuclear weapons program. They're screaming today about the existence of an Iranian nuclear weapons program. The Germans have no credibility on this. Neither do the French, and frankly speaking, neither does the United States. The credibility comes from weapons inspectors operating on the ground. The weapons inspectors in Iraq were correct. The weapons inspectors in Iran are correct. Let's listen to what they have to say and not what some fabricated data appearing on a magical laptop is pretending to say.
This Twitter comment from Ritter saying, has Mr.